This is Audible.
Recorded books and one-click digital present The Art of Living by Bob Proctor with Sandra Gallagher. Narrated by L.J. Ganser. Class 1. Whatever it is, you can get it. Reclaiming the power of your mind. I was on a coaching call yesterday, and at one point I said, 100 years from now, maybe even sooner than that, people are going to look back and consider what we do with children to be a criminal activity. They really will. It will be a criminal activity. Stop and think of the freedom a child has when he is small, just a little tiny baby. His imagination takes him wherever he wants to go. Children live in a phenomenal world where they can do anything they want. They can become pilots. They can be tightrope walkers. They can walk straight across Niagara Falls and have no problem at all. It's done right there in their marvelous mind. Then, we send kids to school, and that fantastic creative process is suddenly a bad thing. The child's imagination is called not paying attention. Drifting off into the glorious realm of the imagination for a few moments elicits a swift, "What are you doing?" from a teacher. It's a punishable offense. And those punishments are very effective. You beat a little kid up a couple of times for doing something, and guess what? They'll stop doing it. So, instead of being praised and encouraged to develop their imagination, an incredible mental faculty, they're made to virtually shut it down completely. The late Stella Adler, a fantastic acting coach, said, "Grown-ups take the life out of things. It's better to make things up, to use the imagination, than to kill them." I couldn't agree more. So now, here we are as adults paying thousands of dollars, taking days off work or away from home just to learn how to use our imagination again. But we have to. We have to all get back to a place of being able to access that phenomenal power, because everything made by man that you see is nothing but the physical manifestation of somebody's imagination. That's what everything in your field of view inside this room right now is. I used to have an office on Bayview Avenue in Toronto. We had a cleaning business where we cleaned offices. That's how I started washing floors. One day I thought, we should get a car phone. So we got a car phone, and we put a supervisor on the road, and he would go around supervising all the cleaners, and I could get him on the phone. We had to mount ski racks on the top of his car to hold the aerial up so that we might be able to get him, because there were only half a dozen channels on the phone, and it didn't work very well. Today, of course, there are millions of lines open. Millions! We all have one, and we can communicate with another person on their frequency. How did this happen? Someone imagined it. That's how. If I took your picture right now, I could send it to anyone, anywhere in the world. All I have to do is hit send, and bang! It is immediately 100% present in all places at the same time. If you were in Sao Paulo, you'd get the picture. If you were in San Francisco, you'd get the picture. If you were in Shanghai, you'd get the picture. If you were in Chicago, you'd get the picture. Why? Because the picture is everywhere. The only thing that makes it materialize is something that resonates with it. Your number. Boom! You've got it. A thought is just the same as that picture. The only thing that stops a thought is that which resonates with the thought. We can communicate telepathically with anyone, anywhere in the world, and we're doing it all the time. We just don't know what we're doing. Why? Because nobody taught us what we're doing, and so we grow up ignorant. Think about this. When a little squirrel is born, nobody has to fend for it. That little squirrel runs up and down trees right away. It will look for nuts. It'll find something. It feeds itself. A little human baby, on the other hand, will die if you don't look after him or her. You see, the little squirrel operates by instinct, which is perfect. The squirrel is totally at home in its environment. We are totally disoriented in ours. Why? Because even though we've been given the mental faculty to create our own environment, we don't do it. Why don't we do it? Because we're told, that's silly. Grow up. That's not realistic. Who do you think you are? All that jazz. So here we've got human beings with marvelous minds, and they're struggling, thinking they are stuck with the conditions or circumstances they're surrounded by. I'd like to do it, but I can't because whatever follows because is the circumstance, and they become subservient to the circumstance. The circumstance becomes their version of God, and they do what their perception of the circumstance dictates. They don't even try to come up with a better way. You're here to learn how to create multiple sources of income so that you can have financial freedom. Now, I know you may be thinking, oh, I couldn't do that. Why couldn't you do that? Because I've never done that. Can you imagine if you didn't learn to do things that you'd never done? You'd still be lying in your crib playing with your toes. You would. But you had to get up and put one foot in front of the other. You had to be taught to do that. They'd hold your hand. He took a step on his own. Did you see that? He took a step on his own. He's walking. Oh, he just fell over. Oh, he's hurt himself. You tottered, you stumbled, and it took you some time. But sure enough, you learned to walk. Whatever it is, you can do it. You simply have to learn how. I once read that the Wright brothers' father, who was a bishop in a Reformed church, told them they were going to burn in hell for suggesting they could fly. That if God had intended us to fly, we'd have wings. Of course, that was believed for centuries. It was also believed that the world was flat. We really bought into it. We really believed it, and not that long ago. According to the prevailing wisdom of the time, how could the world possibly be round? How would you live on the side? Forget the bottom. And when you watched a ship disappear, it looked like it fell off. See, logic dictated that the world couldn't possibly be round, so that's what was believed. Do you suppose that people were thinking when they bought into that idea? Do you think they were using their marvelous imagination when they insisted that we couldn't fly? I don't think so. Earl Nightingale was a mentor of mine, and I learned so much from him. I remember him saying, if most people said what they were thinking, they would be speechless. You'll find people competing with people. There's somebody they don't even like and they're competing. I'm going to beat her. What for? Why would you spend